Right. Good afternoon. It is Wednesday. Oh my goodness gracious, February 26th. Um, and we're still working with division with decimals. I have a really, really silly um thing to show. Okay, so this is my math joke. It's not technically a joke, but I thought this was funny because it clearly says to write less than or greater than, but uh you can see that it is student's interpretation with the word or. Anyway, I thought that was funny. It made me chuckle. All right. Division with decimals. All right. And so now we were dividing, first we divided whole numbers by decimals, right? And we ended up getting these larger whole number amounts because decimals are super teeny and less than one. And so they go into a whole number more than one time. But now we're starting off with decimals and then we're splitting them up into groups. So division is happening here where we can, ignore that anyway. Okay, because I have to update it after I get all the information. So we can, is that any better? We can split up smaller amounts into like a certain number, like a whole number amount of piles. So I want us to just be aware of that. And like, no, wrong button. Okay. I don't know, maybe over here. A little bit better. Anyway, okay, anyway. So if you have 20 hundredths, or technically you'll probably see this on your paper. Oh my God, now you can even see it. All right. You would see this on your paper, just like this with the 2/10. 2/10 we know is the same thing as 20 hundredths, which is also the same thing as 200 thousandths. The significant number of two is in the tenths place, and so the value does not change. So those are all equivalents. Here, the dividend is a decimal. We're dividing up into a certain number of piles. That's our divisor. So here, if we have 8/10 and we want it into four groups, see how there's four groups there? Each group is 2/10. But then also here, I is what I was talking about before with the 2/10. If you have 5/10, you can't immediately split that in half because it's an odd number. And so that means that we're going to be encountering some hundredths because there are 10 hundredths and a tenth. So if you have 50 hundredths divided by 2, which is what we want to be thinking about here, you can split that up because you know what 50 hundredths is, and you can put it in two piles. Okay. I just want to go over the answers of these because it's like previous stuff, and you can watch the other videos for how to do these. Notice decimals are lined up. Okay. And then for multiplication, I'm writing it down with place value, right? Place value, you probably have to pause the video a little bit. And then I am answering the place value because I'm also computing it. And then I write it again, and then I make my final answer. All right, so this was 19 and 43 hundredths, 20 and 2 hundredths. Okay, division is really similar. I wanted to split up 4/10. I need 5 piles. Niles from Morgan State. Shout out to Morgan State. I need 5 piles out of 4/10. That just doesn't make it easy because 4/10 is less. You can't put an even number in a pile unless you turn it into hundredths. So I'm going to think of this as 40 hundredths divided by 5, and I'm going to have 8, and I'm going to bring the hundredths with me because that was the place value I was operating in. Same thing, 2/10. I'm going to write that as 20 hundredths. They're equivalent, split up into 4 pieces. And I just wanted to highlight these two check spots, especially with division. I want to be fluent in multiplication and division and how it relates to addition and subtraction, so I can employ any possible way of solving anything, right? All right. So This higher. I don't know if it's like the dining room one. I feel like this doesn't necessarily happen at the schools. All right, here we go. All right, well, oh, okay. All right. I'm making business. I mean, making progress. We're in business. I'm making progress. Anyways, to find the quotient of 3/10 divided by 2, which statement would be helpful? Think of it as 20 hundredths is? No, because I have 300ths. That's just, no. 3/10? No, because that's what it is. Think of it as 30 hundredths divided into two equal groups. Think of it as 30 hundredths divided into equal groups of 2/10. No. And then what is 3/10 divided by 2? We'll use the diagram if helpful. And I'm going to just to show you, because if we have 1/10, 2/10, red tenth, we don't have a blue tenth, that's okay. But this is 30 hundredths. And if I want to divide that into 2, I can easily do 30 divided by 2. I know is 15. And I'm going to retain the place value. And then that equals this. Mathematicians always like to write as little as possible, which is why we have like decimal forms for those long numbers and things like that. All right, so let's tell which equation is true or false. All right, so I have 24 hundredths divided by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6, and hundredths and hundredths. Ooh, we are in the true business. All right. 84 hundredths, 84 divided by 2 is 42, but it's got to be hundredths. This is falsaroonie, falsarama, the falsarooski. 48. So this is 48 tenths divided by 6. And that's definitely 8 tenths. Woo! True. Because I'm keeping the place value. 56 divided by 8. It's 56 hundredths. I'm going to keep that. And oop, epic fail. That's a tenths place. No, no, no. Okay. Uh, and here we go. Here's some fluency. Okay. So it's dividend is a whole number. So we're back to different, right? And then here the dividend is a decimal. So these are the two main ones before we jump into decimal divided by decimal. All right. So I have 60 divided by 5/10. I want to know how many, and for those of us that are thinking in terms of fractions, 5/10 is 1/2. Let's just see what happens if we, throw it back to fraction land. How many 1/2s in two? I'm sorry, how many 1/2s in one? Two? 2 times 60? Let's see if the answer is going to be 120. I bet you it is. Okay, so how many halves in one whole? Okay, there are 2 halves in one whole, 2, 0.5 in one. So then how many 0.5s in 60? I'd be multiplying by 60, which is what's happening here. So 2 times 60 is 120. Notice I don't have a place value here because it's literally 120 of the 5/10. And that's where the place value is. It's 120. We would write this as a final answer. There are 120 5/10 in 60. That was a little bit tough. You can just have 120, and with some of the other thinking, that would be cool. All right, let's look at the next slide. We have 80 divided by 2/10. Okay, so throwback Wednesdays. 80 divided by 2/10. Okay, 2/10 is 1/5. Just making sure that we are with the fractions that we know of. All right, and then how many 1/5 is in one? How many 2/10 are in whole? Ooh, a 5. And then 5 times 8 is 40 times 10, which is 400. All right, so 40 times 10. All right, so how many 2/10 are in one whole. Let's just draw a little picture, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I have 10/10, which is one, groups of two of them divided by two, I have 5 in each section. 5 groups of 2/10. So I would have 5 groups of 2/10. Okay. Which we know is 5. And then we have how many 2/10 in one whole? Sorry. So there's blank 400 2/10 in 80, or 2/10 times 400 equals 80. And then the last one, I draw those 120 and 120. Okay. All right, let's get rocking and rolling. All right, so now I have 10 divided by 5/100. So I want to think, well, how many 5/100 in one? So this is side note, brain thinking. How many 0.05s in one? Well, I know that that's a nickel, and there are 20 nickels in a dollar. So I'm going to take 20 there. And if there are, all right, so there are 20 0.05 in one. So then how many 0.05s in 10? Oh, well, I'm multiplying by 10 here. So I'm going to have to multiply by 10 here. This is a little bit trickier, but I'm going to talk about it in the next one and do it in a different way. Okay, so I basically found the amount of the decimal, the divisor in one, and then I made what we call like an equivalent relationship here. I used a pattern. That's what it means. Like we're making a pattern in math, which is what makes it actually, I think, really beautiful. All right. So now we have 12 divided by 2/100. Here's another way to work on it. What if we wanted 2/100 written as a place value? Okay. This can't happen. You can have a place value in the dividend, but you cannot have it in the divisor. It's crazy. It just doesn't work that way. So what you have to do here is make sure that you know how many 12s in hundredth is. So if I'm converting 12 into hundredths, I'm getting 12 times 100. So now I have 1,200 hundredths. Should have abbreviation for that. And then I'm dividing it by 2/100. Okay. I can easily do 1,200 divided by 2. I'm going to get 600. And then my hundredths and hundredths, in this case, they factor each other out because there's one in the numerator and the denominator of this division problem. All right. So you can have a place value term in the dividend, in the numerator. Those are the same. You cannot have it in the divisor or the denominator. Okay. So the answer to this one is just 600 whole sets of 2/10. Okay. I know that's tough. All right. So now on here, it's going to be a little bit different because I can have hundredths in the dividend, and I can leave it and then just divide it by 5 and then just include it in the quotient, right, in the answer. So I have 60 divided by 5, which is 12, and I know that that's going to be 1,200ths because I have nothing to interact with the place value. And so that equals this. Because this equals this. Okay. And then this is, I'm actually going to just go with 8/10 because that's divisible by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4/10. I'm going to just carry that on because it's in the first number. And 4/10 is this. Okay. And now I have 1/10, but I'm going to need 10/100. Because this would be 1/10. And if I'm keeping these equivalent, it would have to be 100. No, sorry, 10 hundredths if it's 1/10, because there's 10 hundredths in a tenth. Oh my goodness gracious. So divided by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2, and 100 stays 100. Goodness gracious. All right, we're tired. Let's get there, cuz. Let's go. Okay. And that equals this. So if we had 5 groups of this, I'm almost done. 5 groups, that's 4 groups. 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Almost finished. 10, 1. See, oh, look, 1/10. Yes. Okay. All right. And now I have 1 and 2 tenths. So I have 12 tenths. And I'm dividing it up by 2, which means I have 12 divided by 2 equals 6 tenths. Because I have nothing to get in its way, no other place value. 6 tenths looks like the big reveal. Okay. We're going to continue to go over that, but if you can see the difference between having the place value name in the dividend and the divisor, and then only having it in the dividend is very different. Okay. Like in the first set, column A, we were able to write them all in their place value and then split them up. But in B, we only needed to write the dividend, not the divisor, because we knew the size of the divisor. Okay. Which multiplication equation could be used to fit this value? So that's 18 tenths. Just going to solve it first. Divided by 3. All right, so I have 18 divided by 3, and that equals 6, and I'm going to bring along tenths, which means 0.6. All right, so let's see what would work here. Ooh, I bet if I had 3 sets of 6 tenths, 6, 12, 18. Uh-huh, 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 uh-huh. We don't like it. We don't like it too. It's some weird cheer from high school. It's literally like forever ago. Okay, so we have 3 sets of 6 tenths, and that's it. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Please practice. Tests are coming up. 5th grade stuff is necessary. Love you. Good night.